Thank you for being here for a debate between the two candidates who are in a runoff for mayor of East Baton Rouge Parish. One will succeed Mayor President Kip Holden. The election is December 10th, and in the November 8th primary, Sharon Weston-Broome received 32% of the votes and Bodi received 29%. Both are well known in this community. Bodi is a current state senator, and Sharon Broome is a former senator and former House member. And they are here to take your questions. Please be brief in your questions, and if you're affiliated with a campaign, please refrain from asking questions. We ask that you deactivate any cell phones, and we'll start with each candidate having a 2-minute opening remark, followed by questions which will have 1-minute responses if the candidates wish to go that long, and then each candidate will have a 1-minute closing. And we're going alphabetically, so we will start with, I think Weston is before White, so we'll start with Weston. Either way, you're number one right now. Yeah. 2 minutes. 2 minutes if you want to go.
First of all, I want to thank the members of the press club for another opportunity to come before them or to come before you. Certainly, it's a different dynamic this afternoon. There are 2 of us now out of 12 narrowed down for the mayor-president position. And so, Baton Rouge is facing a critical juncture right now in our city and our parish. And what's going to be vitally important is who is going to be the next leader to move our parish and our city forward? Who is going to be the person to unite people from around our city and parish? And so very briefly, I want to tell you that I certainly have a vision and a plan for our city and for our parish. That vision and plan certainly encompasses some top priorities, but I will go over 2 of those top priorities today. Undoubtedly, traffic is an issue for us here in East Baton Rouge Parish. And so as we discuss traffic, my plan is first of all to implement one of the crisis recommendations from the crisis organization. But in the meantime, as we wait for an interstate response, we have to, I believe, implement our Complete Streets program. We have to look at technology as it relates to our street lights. I think it's vitally important that we use bike share and bike plans as well, and that we use a more new improved CATS public transportation system. As my time is winding down, I would say secondly, we must discuss public safety in our community. And of course, that involves community policing. It also involves building trust and legitimacy and giving our police officers a pay raise. So I look forward to elaborating on these and other issues surrounding my vision and plan for this city as we move forward in this conversation today. Thank you so much.
And I'd like to say thank you again to the Press Club for having me here today. I'm Bodi, and yesterday Robin and I made 34 years of marriage. We have 3 grown children and 2 grandchildren. I have a unique experience with the problems we have here. I've served in law enforcement for 6 years. I've been in the Louisiana legislature for 13 years, served on criminal justice, and wrote many laws to protect our families and our children. And I believe in the hard-working people in this parish and want to do everything possible to help make Baton Rouge one of the top cities in this country. But to do this, we got to focus on certain things. And obviously traffic, crime, education, and now the flood recovery. I don't have an answer for everything, but I've always been able to set priorities. In traffic, I helped put together the Baton Rouge delegation, and with them, I helped secure over $550 million for my district and the Capital Region over the last 10 years. In crime, former law enforcement, I've been endorsed by the Baton Rouge City Police Union. On education, education is our future because of our children, and our children are our future. I don't think anybody in this parish has been more an advocate for education and choice for our children. On the flood recovery, I've been chairman of Homeland Security at the House and the Senate. I've worked every major disaster for the last 12 years. I think because of this, I'm uniquely qualified, because of my experiences, and I know how to work with people, and I've worked with people in every part of this parish for the last 40 years. Thank you.
Are there any questions from working media? Lanny Keller from the Advocate.
Because Mayor Holden is term limited, it's not on the ballot again. But is there one thing that you think that the Holden administration has done particularly well? And is there one thing that you think should be significantly improved upon?
How long?
1 minute.
1 minute. I think Mayor Holden and the council have done lots of things well over the last 12 years. The first part of the Green Light program. They worked the sewer infrastructure problem. Hopefully we'll get out from under federal consent decree on the sewage. They've brought people to this parish. They've helped rebuild downtown. That's something I want to continue. But I want to do more than just downtown. It's a great place. I'm so happy they've done it. But we need to spread that all over the parish. I think that was maybe one of the weaknesses, because living in different and representing different parts of the parish besides the city of Baton Rouge, they have trouble when they don't get those amenities in their areas. They don't have the parks. They don't have the infrastructure. And they don't have the things that's maybe the city of Baton Rouge. Having represented four parishes in the metro area, I've always tried to treat all my parishes equally. I treat St. Helena the same as East Baton Rouge Parish. Thank you.
Certainly, Mayor Holden did have some significant accomplishments, and I would say his ability to draw economic growth and development to areas of our community would certainly be a plus. As we look at the downtown area, as we look at the riverfront, we certainly see his imprint on those developments. But as mayor, I look forward to broadening that economic development on our riverfront. I see a lot of potential there. The second part of the question is, was there an area for room for improvement? And so I would probably say that our mayor should have perhaps worked harder to close the gap of communication between some of his constituents and be more intensely involved in the development of those areas that have a void in our community, such as the recurring conversation around North Baton Rouge.
Question, well, okay, Sue, do you have one?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I do.
Sue Lincoln from WRKO.
One of the most important tasks for the next mayor-president will be appointing the Baton Rouge police chief. What are you looking for in a police chief, and how does community policing play into that?
You're absolutely right. The next police chief is going to be vitally important, and I've said all along that I'm very committed to hiring a new police chief. And so we're going to be looking for someone who is forward-thinking, who is open-minded, who has established experience as a police chief. Someone who is inspiring, because I think that's vitally important as well. And someone who is not distracted from some of the internal workings of the department and not fearful of moving forward despite internal challenges. Certainly community policing will always remain a priority for me. It was years ago as a Metro Councilwoman, and it still is now. now. But I want a police chief who will be in sync with my vision to close the gap between law enforcement and the citizens of this community.
I want to see a chief that exemplifies my work ethic, that wants to work with everybody in this parish, and we regain the trust and the respect both ways in this community of Baton Rouge. I want to be able to pay our officers more. I want them to be in the communities. We need to hire one class almost immediately. There's 30 short right now. By the time we hire them and get them trained, it'll take almost a year, and we'll be another 30 short. And until we can catch up some, it's hard for them to stop from going from call to call and stop and visit our businesses, to stop and visit with you in your yard and see what kind of concerns you have. And when you do that, because I used to do it, you get to know the people in this parish, and they have respect for you. Thank you.
Okay. Robert, would you announce your affiliation,
Yes.
please?
Robert Burns with Sound Off, Louisiana. Can each of you give us your recommendation for the two green light tax proposals that are on the ballot December 10th?
I think that they're named projects. The first green light project passed because it's a named project and they tell you what you're going to do. What I want to do, if those pass on December the 10th, is have a schedule. And then with that schedule, we're going to be able to show you where we are, how many dollars are spent on those projects, and everybody's going to be able to see their project coming. I'm going to have a very transparent government. Everything's going to be on the internet, your work orders, your roads, your potholes, and you can look at it. And when you do that, you gain the trust. That's the only reason some of the millages have passed in my community, is because a very conservative community, they were able to see what you could do, they voted on it, and they kept their word what they were going to do. I think that they're going to pass. And I think it's going to be very important to follow the dollars and make sure the next administration does what the people voted for.
I think the Green Light program is an integral part of uplifting our infrastructure here in the city and in the parish. And I certainly have been in favor of the initiative and look forward to moving it forward, but I think we should also consider it as a pay-as-you-go situation. After I have had a number of conversations with individuals throughout the community, it appears that their main concern about the Green Light program is that there is equity as we look at projects and infrastructure issues, and I'll make sure that that takes place.
Could you stand up, please? And
Yeah, Rachel Spangerfall with NBC 33, Fox 44. You both speak about uniting and closing the gap in the community. As we wait for the decision to come from the Department of Justice, what do you want to tell the community?
I'm glad you asked that question, because prior to coming here today, I just left a committee meeting that I've been a part of that the governor has initiated with community leaders surrounding reform and community relations. And that is at the key of our response to what happens with Alton Sterling. The community relationships that we build and being proactive. I believe that the people of this city and parish want justice and equity, and that should be the standard for our city and parish. And so as we look forward to whatever comes down from the Department of Justice, this city is building a community infrastructure where we will respond in a way that will certainly be one declaring peace and calm, but also next steps that we can take to move this city and parish forward surrounding the Alton Sterling killing.
The Alton Sterling case has went to the U.S. Justice Department for review and investigation. And when that decision comes down, whichever way it is, then we have to sit down and work with each other. Our clergy, community leaders, we decide how we move forward, and it's going to be our city and our parish as we go forward. And with higher education and the things we have in this parish, there's no reason we can't move forward whichever way it falls.
Stephanie?
Sure, Stephanie Regal. Could y'all I'd like to follow up on that and just ask y'all to be a little more specific, because I'm as guilty as anyone who's right about coming together, coming to the table and, conversations. What are we really talking about? What does it mean to move this city forward? What specific things do we have to do to bridge these gaps and bring these people together?
I'll start, Stephanie, because your question certainly is worth a response, and I certainly would like to elaborate, because when we talk about unity and bringing people together, we have to first demonstrate that with our leadership. And I'm disappointed that my friend and colleague here has not done that over the years as it relates to the pullout of St. George. That certainly hasn't demonstrated unity. It has demonstrated division. But let's move forward and talk about other things that we can do. We can certainly support our city and parish directors and assistant directors in completing the dialogue on race. You've heard about the dialogue on race on many of our conversations. I think we have to activate a biannual working group to identify unifying efforts needed in Baton Rouge to strengthen our dialogue across racial lines and to support effective community development. Those are just two steps we can take.
There she goes again, talking about and attacking the people in South Baton Rouge. Those folks just wanted better schools for their kids. My opponent didn't have a problem when Baker and Zachary had problems with their education systems, and they broke off from East Baton Rouge Parish. She supported those two entities and voted for those pieces of legislation. And I wish she would just quit talking about the people in South Baton Rouge. All that came out of trying to get better schools for their children and their communities. Thank you.
Do I get a rebuttal?
Well, I'll ask a follow-up. If there is another move for a St. George-like pull away, will you stand in the way of it, or will you support it?
I don't want to see our city or parish divided anymore. It is certainly a contradiction to talk about unity and then talking about dividing our city and parish. That's a huge contradiction. And let's just make the record clear. I am trying to bring together all of the people of this community, whether it's north, south, east, or west, whether it's Central, Zachary, whether it's Baker or Baton Rouge or St. George. For us to be the strong city and parish that we need to be, everybody has to be a part of it. So a continuous dialogue on division and subtraction does not add to our city and our parish. So to answer your question, no, I will not support a breakaway for another city as St. George. But I would love to see the people of St. George join us in working, and it's not all the people, but join us to work to make this city and parish better.
I too don't want to see this parish divided. And that's why I ran. I couldn't find a legislative solution. As mayor president, I'm going to work with all the people in this parish. And I've represented this parish from East Feliciana to Ascension. I'm going to work with them. I'm going to work with the East Baton Rouge school systems to bring it up. We now have the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 school districts in the Baton Rouge area. I want to see Baton Rouge, I've said it repeatedly, to be number 6 or 7, whatever it be in the top 10, where families can come to East Baton Rouge Parish and live anywhere they want to and have a high-quality school and have a safe community that they can live in. I'm tired of my friends and their kids having to leave this parish in search of better schools and safer neighborhoods.
So is that yes or no?
I just said I said I didn't want them to divide.
Okay. What is your initial reaction, each of you, to the election of President Trump?
Am I first again?
You first.
I guess my first reaction, I saw it coming 2 weeks earlier when the national media started talking about he had a chance to win. And I think they were trying to soften the blow to some of the polls they had run. I think the people in this country are tired of the same old, same old. They want to see something different. That's why I've always tried to be forward thinking and create situations that are better for all of us. I've never run just to be an office holder. I've always said I'll do whatever I need to do to represent my constituents and my state. And if I get beat for doing that, then I can look at myself in the morning. But I think the people clearly spoke that they want some change. And they want someone that's going to stand up and not do sound bites. And if anybody knows me, they know I'm not a soundbite guy, I'm a substance guy.
So your question was, what is my reaction to the election of President Trump? Well, when I look at President Trump, President-elect Trump, let's make that clear, I don't see someone who has a history of uniting people, and that certainly concerns me. But I will take what the president has said, President Obama, and he said he is the president of the United States now. And so we certainly respect the position, but I will also say that we will have to see what the outcome will be in terms of what he will indeed deliver. Saying one thing and acting on one thing is totally different. But not only does our nation, but our parish, our state, we need someone who can bring this nation, this parish, and this city together. And so I believe that we will still have to see what's going to take place as it relates to the president.
Before you leave, how will you interact with President Trump's Justice Department with the Sterling case still being unresolved?
May I repeat your question? His question was, how will I react with the Trump administration, depending on what the Sterling resolution will be. And so as the leader of this city and this parish, I am going to advocate for justice, and that will be the standard as the mayor president. I will go to Washington. I will go and meet with our congressional delegation. I have had no challenges doing that before. And I will meet with the president to take our response to him as it relates to the Sterling case. And I will certainly intercede with legal experts on this as well as if we need to make an appeal in this particular situation. But I will add, since I have 15 seconds left, that my experience has been one of working across the aisles. I've worked with Democrats, I've worked with Republicans, and I've worked with independents. I've served as the President Pro Tem of the Senate and the Speaker Pro Tem of the House, unanimously elected. So it shows my ability to work with people, and even my opponent voted for me both times.
Bodi, would you, about the Justice Department and how you work with the Trump administration?
I think as mayor president, and with my background, I've always believed in the laws. I've studied the laws, I've enforced the laws, and I've written the laws. I've served in every part except the judging of the laws and of people. Every part of the judicial system has its function. And as a young detective, I didn't always agree with every verdict, but I thought it was fair, the system. And there is no other system in the world that is as fair as ours. We get it wrong every once in a while, and I know that, but we always try to right it. But I have no problem sitting down with this Justice Department or the Obama Justice Department or any other one if we need to sit down and talk. I've always worked across the aisles.
Based on, well, go ahead, Lanny.
A hot issue a while back was the so-called fairness ordinance for equal rights for gay and lesbian citizens. For or against?
Is it my turn? I don't know.
You first.
First of all, I don't discriminate. I've never discriminated in my job, in my workplace, or in my company. And I will not tolerate discrimination in my administration as mayor president. I intend on working with everyone in this parish. I intend on having a very diverse administration. I'm going to hire the best people I can to help run this city and parish. But it's going to be diverse, and I plan on enforcing the laws and the ordinances that are on the books in East Baton Rouge Parish.
The first step that I will take is to continue the executive order, the anti-discrimination order that both Mayor Simpson and Mayor Holden did, which applies to city parish government, of course. And I certainly will have a standard of non-discriminatory policies that will be a part of our city and parish government, but will be a part of leadership. I believe that everything rises and falls on leadership. And so when you see a Broome administration, you will see one that will include everyone from this city and this parish. My administration will look like the people of this city and parish from every corner of this city and parish. And as it relates to the fairness ordinance, as you know, the fairness ordinance came from the Metro Council. If they certainly develop another fairness ordinance, it is not my goal to be an obstructionist.
Stephanie?
What is your position on a police department residency requirement? Would they be required to live in East Baton Rouge Parish? The city of Baton Rouge.
Stephanie, I have said consistently throughout the campaign that I don't think we should mandate residency requirements for the police officers. Instead, I believe that we should offer incentives. Those incentives could look like a lot of different things. For example, tax breaks. We give tax breaks to a lot of businesses around here. We could give a tax break to our police officers who lay their lives down on the line for us on a consistent basis. So I believe that if we want our police officers to be from the city and the parish, that we should offer incentives and that it should not be a mandate.
I think first, I wish every city police officer could live in the city or in the parish. But in practicality, if you want to hire the best people for our police department and the best people to run our parish, you can't look at a small pool. I think we have to give our officers a raise. They start out at $32,000 a year. And the reason so many of our young officers don't live in this parish is they're moving to surrounding parishes because they're a young family and they can't afford private school and they don't get lucky enough to get their children in a good public school here. So they move. The housing's cheaper. I want to work to have areas of mixed income buildings and developments where we can have our officers and our firemen and our DPW employees live in our parish. That would be a goal, but I don't think we could mandate it. I wouldn't mandate it.
How significant is the division between North and South Baton Rouge, and what will you do to address the concerns of the people?
The divisions on what?
Between North and South Baton Rouge.
I don't think the people themselves have a division. I think the division has been the areas in North Baton Rouge that have become blighted areas in economic development. And I've consistently voted in favor of businesses to come to our parish and to be able to flourish in this state. And if you don't do that, they won't come. The folks in South Baton Rouge are some of the biggest business owners there are. And I've been talking to them for months about coming and building some things in North Baton Rouge. And the big corporations we have there, they got to have a good education system for their employees in a place where they can live, where they're safe. And when we do that, private industry would take care of itself. They will come. I don't think people in South Baton Rouge begrudge North Baton Rouge or North Baton Rouge begrudges South Baton Rouge. But we have to fix these inequities.
And so there may not be any begrudging going on, as my opponent says, but there are undoubtedly some challenges that we face. Because how many times have we heard people talk about, some of you all right here in this room have talked about the Great Divide between North and South Baton Rouge. And I don't think that's some pie in the sky that somebody just put out there. And so what do we do? It surrounds the whole message of unity and how do we bring people together. And so as mayor, I am going to make sure that we activate a biannual working group to identify unifying efforts needed in Baton Rouge to strengthen dialogue across all racial lines, across North and South. And I'm also going to make sure that we join the National League of Cities Inclusive Cities Initiative for East Baton Rouge Parish with a governing coalition of citizens named jointly by the Mayor President and the Metro Council. I believe that will help us close the gap that exists.
Robert, go ahead.
Robert Burns again with Sound Off, Louisiana. To the extent that either of you have advocated that you believe you could enhance the educational system in this parish, can you state, given that it's the school board that would carry the primary responsibility of implementing any policy, can you elaborate upon, if you do feel that your administration can enhance educational opportunities, how you would sort of superimpose your agenda into the school board that would control such? Thank you.
Repeat the question, please.
Let's let him repeat that question. Somebody asked for the question to be repeated. But I think your question was around the mayor's influence surrounding education. And interaction with the school board. And so consistently I've said we understand that the mayor does not have policy authority over the education system. But one of the first things I'm going to do is to bring the school board and the Metro Council together in a joint meeting to discuss how we can elevate education in our city and parish, because undoubtedly the mayor has to be concerned about everything that impacts our city and parish. I also believe, and I've had conversations with the superintendent already, that it's important that as mayor that I empower the superintendent by helping any way that I can to give voice to initiatives, to goals and objectives that he and the school board may have. And thirdly, let me just say this. I have talked about throughout the campaign my 0 to 3 or Cradle to 3 initiative, which I believe will help put our young people on a path to success educationally and socially. And that is what we need. We need to start early. You've heard about early childhood initiatives. Well, we need to start in the cradle. And so that's something I'm going to do as mayor president.
I realize I don't get to go in the school board and vote, but I control dollars coming down in early childhood that flow through the mayor president's office. And I promise you, I'll be at the legislature trying to get more of those for Baton Rouge and our children, where we don't have children of lower income starting out as a kindergartner 2 years behind everybody else, and they can never hardly catch up. That's why so many of them drop out of school. By the time they're middle school, they're frustrated and embarrassed, and they start dropping out. How can a mayor not be concerned about education of their parish and their workforce? How can a mayor not take responsibility when we have schools every week on lockdown? How can a mayor not take responsibility of an educated workforce trained where jobs can come here? I will not stand by and not be involved. I'm going to work with them every day.
Yes, sir.
Every time we have one of these discussions, it becomes obvious that there are a lot of silos and fiefdoms in this parish. Do you agree with the notion that this parish needs a new plan for government and should hire a professional city manager?
I'm gonna put it on your side. You can change the plan of government and hire a city manager. It's just a plan. Or you can hire the best CEO that we can afford, and they're the city manager. You let them do the job. They manage the city. They manage the functions. It's not real difficult for me. I've always hired the best people I could and let them do their job. And when they couldn't do their job or they didn't do their job, that's when I would step in. I can't manage every entity and every little bit of government every day, but I'm going to hire the best professional people in this country that'll come to work here. And there's private people that are very smart, that are willing to do some public service for so many years. And they'll come in and work with us. Because it'll be a pride for them to help stand Baton Rouge up and put it in another direction. Thank you.
There have certainly been conversations about our plan of government. And so while I believe that we should certainly take a look at our plan of government and perhaps establish a citizens and Metro Council combination of looking at the plan of government, I don't think that one of the things we need to do is to hire a city manager at this time. It certainly goes back to having an effective chief administrative officer. And so certainly we have a great talent bank of innovative, creative, and individuals here in our city and our parish, and we can certainly open it up beyond that. But it also reminds me of one of the programs that I am going to start in the mayor's office, and that is the Baton Rouge Revitalization Fellows Program, where we will have individuals ages 25 through 35 who will be a part of the recovery and revitalization of the city and parish post-flood. And these are the kind of individuals that will move our city and parish forward as we look at the next generation. Well, first of all, I am a communicator. That is who I am. That is part of my character, and that's what I've done for years and years. And so as mayor president, I will certainly have an open line of communication to members of our community, especially during times of crisis. It's vitally important that the leaders step up and let the citizens of the community, the residents, see her during a time of crisis. Even if you don't have all the answers at that time, people are looking for someone who can be there and show and demonstrate leadership. And so that's what I'll do. But as we look at crisis that may evolve after that, I think it's very important that within the mayor president's office that we have a chief resiliency officer. And that person can be responsible for helping to plan and develop programs and initiatives that will make us be proactive as we look at possible challenges that we may face moving forward. But at the end of the day, everything rises and falls on leadership, and you need a leader who's going to be on the ground and going to be responsive to the constituents that he or she serves, she in this matter.
You know, I've been dealing with FEMA for 13 years, since Katrina. There's a lot of good people who work for them, but I think it's the worst run government organization in the United States. It's so frustrating. Every morning I get up and I deal with people's problems that flooded in my district. And I've done it year after year and around the state. And I keep telling them, you just got to stay with them. You just got to keep hammering them. I've been to Washington, D.C., saw them brought before subcommittees, and they just don't hardly listen, I'll be frank with you. But I just stay with them, and I look very forward to when we get some of these dollars coming down to the state, and we're going to get some. We've rebuilt New Orleans and Lafayette and Lake Charles over the years. We're going to get CDBG dollars, and I'm going to run that to a couple of different organizations and revitalize North Baton Rouge that was flooded, because a lot of that's got to be torn down, and rebuild East Baton Rouge Parish, and hopefully we rebuild the whole metro area. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Lakeisha from WASD, Channel 9 and intern. You guys touched on some things as far as development in North Baton Rouge. What are some specific things that you guys will do who are elected as far as development in North Baton Rouge?
I think it's your turn. back and forth, and I think it's your turn.
Sharon and I are cordial. We've been knowing each other a long time. I think some of the things we need to do is the public transportation system. Plank Road used to be a very vital commerce district. It's where I used to shop, Delmont Village, when I was a child in North Baton Rouge. When you talk about me, I'm not from South Baton Rouge. I'm from North Baton Rouge. I've lived in the North End my whole life. Scenic Highway, another traffic corridor. You have Harding Boulevard with Mr. Price's development. I want to change North Boulevard into a boulevard heading to Southern University away from that development at Harding and I-110 all the way to Southern University. I talked to a young man the other day that has a development plan he showed me with a new grocery store, strip malls, apartments on Scenic Highway. And he's willing to take a chance if he has the mayor that'll work with him. I think it's going to be done. We just have to fix our education, make it safe, and entrepreneurs will come if you give them the right environment, just like downtown did.
You asked for some specific responses to economic growth and development for North Baton Rouge. As a legislator from that area, I have been very involved with community development corporations and empowering them as it relates to housing. I will continue to do that because housing is very critical to economic growth and development. But beyond that, we have an airport that is located in the heart of North Baton Rouge. That airport recently opened up an aviation business park. I think that that aviation business park can serve certainly first as a business incubator, and if designed correctly, we could also use it as a distribution center, which can be used to develop jobs. It could be intimately involved in job creation for that area. We've talked about the grocery gap that exists in that area. I think, first of all, as we pursue grocery stores, that we should look at a Main Street market on Scenic Highway, where people can certainly get fruits and vegetables and other staples that they need. But at the same time, we could give entrepreneurs at that Main Street market an opportunity to bring their wares out there for sale. So there are a number of things that we can continue to do to energize North Baton Rouge.
We'll do closing statements, so.
First?
Yes.
Again, thanks to the press club for having this here today. And I guess I look so forward to being able to change things in Baton Rouge, and in particular North Baton Rouge, in Baker, in areas that I haven't represented. I want it to look like the areas that I have represented. I want new stores, new businesses, young families in those areas. I've spent a lifetime in public service in this parish. And I can promise you one thing, nobody will outwork me. Nobody understands this government better than I do. And nobody loves this parish more than I do. And that's why I want to be mayor president, and I ask you to vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you for your time once again. All of us come from different areas in this room, I'm sure, but there is a common denominator that unites us. And that common denominator is that we all want to live in a city and a parish where we can be proud to call it our home, where quality of life is not the exception. A good quality of life is the norm for our city and for our parish. And so I'm going to ask you to indulge me very quickly and just close your eyes for the next 10 seconds, if you would. And I want you to think about who is the best person to represent this community when we need economic development and we have to go to another city or go internationally to speak to corporations and corporate leaders? Who is the best person who can articulate a need of the city and parish with people across all racial lines? You've heard and you've listened to both of us, and I think you know who that person is. I'm asking you for your support, and I'm asking you for your vote. This election is going to define this city and parish for years to come. Thank you so much.